To everyone who has been showing up in this space, who keeps coming back, who leaves something genuine in the comments and trusts this reading to land where it needs to land, thank you, sincerely. I read what you write, I sit with it, and it shapes the energy I bring into every reading that follows. To those who are here for the first time today, welcome. Something very specific drew you to this title. Something in those words pressed on something in you that was already alive and waiting to be named. Trust that. Now let us go in. Because what is coming through today caught me off guard in the best possible way. And I think it is going to catch you off guard too. I need you to take a breath right now. A real one, not a polite one. Because what I am about to describe is the kind of thing that sounds almost too large to be real. The kind of thing that the careful, precise, quietly self-protective part of you, the part of you that has learned through experience to manage its own expectations, is going to want to immediately qualify and contextualize and reduce to something more manageable. I am asking you not to do that. Not yet. Not for the length of this reading. Just stay open. Stay in the full size of what is coming through here without shrinking it before it has even had the chance to arrive. Because what is moving toward you right now is not ordinary. Let me tell you what I am looking at. There is a figure in this image, and the first thing I notice before anything else, before I can even take in the details, is the quality of light that surrounds this person. Not light from above, not something soft or diffuse, a concentrated, directed quality of luminosity that seems to come from within the figure itself. The kind of presence that a person carries when they have moved through enough of life to have become fully themselves. When they have shed the versions of themselves that were performed or constructed for the comfort of others and arrived at something genuine and earned and completely their own, this person is magnetic, not in the shallow sense of the word, not simply attractive or charismatic in the way that gets your attention briefly and then leaves nothing behind. Magnetic in the way that reorganizes the air in a room, in the way that makes other conversations feel slightly less interesting after you have had one with them, in the way that you feel in your body before your mind has even processed what is happening. And this person is looking in your direction. I want to stay with this image for a moment longer because there is something specific in it that I think is important for you to understand about the nature of this arrival. This figure is not searching. That is the detail that keeps pulling my attention. They are not moving through the world with the restless, scanning energy of someone who is looking for something they have not found yet. There is a settledness in them, a completeness that exists independently of anyone else. They have built something. They have become something. They carry a life that is already full and rich and moving in a direction that has real momentum behind it. And within that full, rich, already moving life, something has oriented toward you, not out of need, not out of loneliness or the desire to fill a space that feels empty, out of genuine recognition, the kind of recognition that only happens when someone who truly knows themselves encounters another person who is also genuinely becoming fully themselves, like calls to like. And what is being called towards you right now is operating at a frequency that matches something you have been quietly building within yourself for longer than you may realize. Let me describe another image because it deepens what I am beginning to see. I see a doorway, and beyond this doorway, a world that is visibly different from the one currently visible. Not foreign, not intimidating in its difference, but expanded. as though the frame of what daily life looks like, what is available, what is possible, what a regular Tuesday can contain has simply grown larger. This doorway has a very specific quality. It is not a door that swings open dramatically. It does not announce itself with fanfare or force. It opens the way that significant things often open in real life, gradually, almost imperceptibly at first, until one day you realize you are standing in a completely different quality of light, and you can no longer quite remember the exact moment the shift began. The person who is moving toward you is carrying a key to this doorway, not because they are your savior or your gateway or your means to an end, but because proximity to someone who is operating at a genuinely elevated level of self-possession and achievement and authentic living does something to the people around them. It expands what feels possible. It raises the ceiling of what you allow yourself to want. It reflects back a version of you that you may not have been fully seeing, the version that belongs in rooms you have not yet let yourself fully inhabit. I want to speak to something that I feel is alive in several of you right now, a very particular kind of Virgo resistance. Because even as you are reading this, even as something in you is responding to what is being described with a warmth that you can feel physically, there is another part of you that is already composing the counter-argument, already listing the reasons this is not quite right for you, not quite the right timing, not quite something you can fully receive without a significant internal negotiation first. I know that part of you well. It is the part that has protected you faithfully and effectively for a long time. The part that learned through real experience with real consequences that allowing yourself to want something fully and openly before it has proven itself to be safe is a risk that does not always pay off the way you hope. That part of you is not wrong for existing, but I want to offer you a different framing for what is coming because I think it matters for how you meet this person when they arrive. The self-protection that has served you in situations where the person or the circumstance was genuinely not safe is not what is needed here. What is needed here is something that may feel initially more vulnerable than protection. Openness, the willingness to be seen at your full size by someone who is actually capable of holding that size without diminishing it, without feeling threatened by it, without needing you to be smaller so that they can feel adequate. That is a different experience from what you may be used to. And it requires a different response from you than what you have learned to default to. Let me tell you something about who you are that I think you need to hear before this person arrives. Because Virgo, and I mean this with complete sincerity, the version of you that is walking through the world right now is not the same version that existed even a relatively short time ago. Something has shifted in the quality of your presence, in the groundedness of how you occupy your own life, in the standards you hold, not rigidly, not as a wall, but as a genuine expression of self-respect that has been earned through real experience. You have become someone not in the grand, externally validated sense of the word, in the quieter, more durable sense. You know things about yourself now that you did not know before. You have a relationship with your own intuition that is more trusting and more calibrated than it was. You have moved through things that tested the question of who you are at your core, and you have answered that question. High caliber people notice that. They notice it immediately and instinctively because they recognize it, because they have been through their own version of that process, because the particular quality of someone who has genuinely done the work of becoming themselves is unmistakable to anyone else who has done the same work. You are going to be seen, Virgo, really seen by someone who has the capacity to see accurately. And that experience, for someone who has spent significant time being perceived through lenses that were not quite right, that did not quite capture the full picture, that reduced or simplified or misread what you were actually bringing, that experience is going to feel extraordinary. There is another image surfacing now, and I want to describe it carefully because it carries the emotional heart of this reading. I see two people in conversation, not a casual conversation. The quality of attention flowing between them is the kind that makes everything outside the immediate radius of the exchange temporarily irrelevant. Both figures are leaning slightly toward each other, not from desperation or neediness, but from genuine interest, the kind of interest that cannot be performed. That arises when you encounter someone whose mind and presence genuinely surprise you, who says something that you have never heard quite that way before, who listens in a way that makes you feel, perhaps for the first time in a while, that what you are saying is landing somewhere real. That conversation is coming. It may begin in a context you do not expect, a setting that does not immediately announce itself as significant, a moment that looks from the outside entirely ordinary. And then something will happen in the exchange, a moment of unexpected depth or unexpected humor or an unexpected recognition of something you thought only you understood, and you will feel the ground shift slightly beneath you. That shift is the beginning of something. I want to address the high profile quality of this person directly because I think it is worth examining what that actually means in the context of this reading. This is not about fame for its own sake. This is not the universe dangling a celebrity or a status symbol in your direction as some kind of cosmic reward. What high profile means in the energy of this reading is something more specific and more interesting than that. It means someone who operates with a level of intentionality and impact that extends beyond the purely private. Someone whose life touches others in ways that are visible and real. Someone who has built something, created something, led something, shaped something that exists in the world beyond just their personal life. And the reason this quality is relevant is not because it makes them more valuable as a person. It is because it speaks to the level of self-development, discipline, and genuine becoming that they carry. The high-profile nature of who they are is a symptom of something internal, not the thing itself. What is actually arriving in your direction is someone who has done the work. In their professional life, yes, but more importantly, in themselves. And that internal work is what makes them capable of meeting you at the level you are actually operating at, of recognizing what you bring without needing to diminish it, of building something with you rather than simply taking from you. I want to pause here and ask you something real. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be genuinely excited about the possibility of another person? Not cautiously optimistic, not guardedly open, genuinely, fully, without the protective layer of managed expectations, excited about the idea of someone walking into your life and changing the quality of it, of being surprised by another human being in ways that feel good rather than destabilizing, of having someone to bring your full mind and your full heart to without immediately calculating the risk of doing so. When was the last time you gave yourself permission to want that without qualifying it first? Because I think for many of you watching this, it has been a while. And I think one of the things this reading is asking of you, beyond just receiving the information about who is coming, is to begin practicing that permission now before they arrive, in the quiet of your own inner life. The willingness to want this fully, to let yourself be excited by it, to stop managing the size of your own hope down to a level that feels safe and start allowing it to be the actual size of what you genuinely want. Your wanting is not a liability here. It is an invitation. Let me describe the final image because it is the one that has been waiting at the edge of this entire reading, and it is the one I most want to leave you with. I see a table set beautifully, with care and intention and a quality of preparation that suggests whoever arranged it understood that what was about to take place at it mattered. And at this table there are 2 seats, not many. 2, face to face, across a space that is small enough for genuine intimacy, for the kind of conversation where you can see every nuance of expression, where nothing gets lost in distance or noise or the presence of an audience. Both seats are empty in the image, but they are not waiting in an anxious way. They are waiting in the way that things wait when their moment is genuinely close. When the preparation has been done and the conditions are right and what is coming is already, in some real sense, already on its way. One of those seats is yours, and you have been preparing for it without fully knowing you were doing so for longer than you realize. Every moment of growth, every piece of inner work, every choice you made to hold your standard, even when it would have been easier to lower it, every time you chose your own truth over the comfort of performing something smaller, all of it was preparation for this table, for this conversation, for this person who is on their way to sit across from you and see you clearly and offer you something that matches the full size of what you actually are. Virgo, as we close this reading, I want to say something simple and direct. You are ready for this. Not the qualified version of ready, not ready with asterisks and conditions and fine print, ready in the way that matters, in the way that comes from having genuinely done the work rather than simply having waited long enough, in the way that means when this person arrives, when that conversation begins, when the ground shifts in that subtle but unmistakable way beneath you, you will not run from it. You will not shrink yourself to make it more manageable. You will not find a reason to disqualify it before it has had the chance to become what it is trying to become. You will simply be there, fully, all of you, at the full size of everything you have grown into, and that for someone who has spent so long learning to hold themselves with quiet dignity in the absence of being truly met is everything. If this reading landed somewhere real today, if something in here named a hope you have been carrying quietly, or a readiness you have been feeling without quite knowing what it was pointing toward, tell me in the comments. I want to hear from you. I read every word. And to those of you who feel that what I described today is already beginning to take shape in your life, even in the earliest, most subtle form, you know what to do. Stay open, stay the full size of yourself, and let what is coming come.